The Philippines has a long storied history of cinema dating back over 100 years. From the early beginnings of the silent film Country Maiden to modern classics like Metro Manila, the country has seen both political, cultural and cinematic shifts in the past century. This is Spotlight On, a series where I find films from a country I think is tragically underrepresented in the West and dive into what they have to offer. Today we're looking at modern Filipino films that have touched upon real-world issues, from displaced minorities, environmental disasters and queer rights. If you like what I do, please subscribe to help the channel grow, and I'll be sure to come back with a part 2. The docu-fiction style, where real life and narrative film meet, has been something of a growing genre of late. As encapsulations of real-life issues, they are presented through a more digestible lens of fiction, allowing a story to reach more people without letting go of its key messaging. Sean Devlin's Asog carries on this tradition by combining a classic road movie with a message about land ownership and standing up for what is right. Comedian and activist Jaya plays a version of themselves, a teacher who performs with their partner Cyrus in queer stage acts. Money is tight, especially after the devastation caused by Super Typhoon Yolanda. Jaya wants to enter into the Ms. Gay competition in Sigacon, but Cyrus can't join them immediately, so Jaya travels alone. Along the way, Jaya encounters one of her students, Arnel, who is travelling to get money from his dad for his mother's memorial service, and the two decide to go together. Meanwhile, in the documentary side of things, the residents of Sigacon Island are struggling. After the typhoon devastated many of their homes, developers arrived and bought out, or even stole, land from them in order to build luxury condos and resorts. The story of Jaya and Arnel travelling together, opening up to one another and growing as people is the main focus, and it's carried largely by Jaya, who steals the show in every scene. Their performance is silly and camp, as one might expect, but layered with levels of self-doubt, love for Cyrus and frustration at a world that seems inherently against them. Arnel Pablo is a bit more subtle, playing his awkward teen character really well. His quiet charisma makes an excellent foil to Jaya's more over-the-top and sillier performance. There's a lot of gorgeous scenery here beautifully captured, and that does a lot of heavy lifting. It serves to envelop us in the natural beauty of the country and introduces us to the land development side of the story. When the movie blends its plots together, it works fantastically well, integrating what it wants to say about the land while merging the queer themes of being yourself and not being put down by others, with the environmental and social themes of the local villagers trying to get by when a corporation has stolen all of their land. It's rough around the edges, for sure, but it knows what it wants to say and does it with passion. ASOG wants you to know that, even when you're swarmed, you can't let the mosquitoes win. At first glance, Eric Matty's 2018 action thriller Buy Bust looks like the Philippines' answer to The Raid. It features an elite anti-narcotics squad trapped in a labyrinthine tunnel after a sting operation goes horribly wrong. They are forced to run a violent gauntlet just to survive the night, but Buy Bust transcends the standard cops and robbers tropes to get something far more complex, claustrophobic, and politically charged. The film's greatest asset is its setting. The Gracia ni Maria Barangay, a fictional neighborhood in Manila, isn't just a flat backdrop in front of which any character can be green screened. It's a three-dimensional prison, and an interactive one at that. Danger does more than lurk around the corner, as people drop from roofs and rise from flooded alleyways with loose electric cables. Matty relies on intense, confined framing that denies both the characters and the audience a moment's rest. Which of course leads me to the movie's action. Done extremely well in a way that feels real and never clunky or clumsy, there's definitely a lot of work that has been put into the choreography. But unlike other high-action martial arts pieces, at no point do you get the impression that they're dancing. The violence is raw, brutal, and sometimes get uncomfortable when the police are attacked by and have to fight off what is normally just a bunch of random innocent bystanders. The anti-narcotics squad committing acts of violence against civilians can easily be seen as commentary on then-President Duterte's war on drugs. However, this commentary is a difficult balance to strike, as it has to give us officers that are fairly likable and aren't in the pockets of corruption. The violence is not shown as a heroic act, just as desperate actions made in order to survive. The locations are incredible and varied, allowing for three-dimensional gunfights on rooftops, bottlenecked battles on the ground. Every set is another colour as well, from vibrant greens to neon pinks. This could have been a drab grey affair, and sometimes it is, but by giving us big set pieces within these busy environments, the film never feels rote or repetitive. Overall, Buy Bust is a great example of an action thriller. It's filled with fantastic battle sequences set in tight, uncomfortable scenes, often reminding me of some of my favourite video games. Throw in a likeable cast and a touch of satire, and you get a movie that won't be to everyone's taste, but will definitely satisfy those who have come out of The Raid and John Wick and are looking for something fresh and fun. I'm always a little bit nervous going into a strongly political film with little knowledge of the topic of discussion, especially when the topic in question is something as serious as Boy From Nowhere. So it's a relief when they clue you in early on and give you the context necessary. The opening text of Boy From Nowhere tells us that the island of Mindanao in southern Philippines is rich with natural resources that the government is keen to get its hands on. even if it means displacing entire tribes. Rebel groups have sprung up in resistance to this, with some even resorting to child soldiers. It's in the middle of this conflict that we find our main character, Gary, a young boy whose village is burnt down during these conflicts. He loses his family and decides to travel to his mother's Talandig tribe. Along the way, he encounters wayward youth and gang member Nak, who takes Gary under his wing. Despite his rough appearance, Nak looks after Gary, but it isn't long until they are forcefully recruited into the social war that rages around them. At its core, Boy From Nowhere is a political film, one that seeks to highlight not just injustices to local landowners, but more importantly, the toll this war is having on the populace. It's also a film about the people who are caught up in the middle of it, the Lumads, who are simply trying to raise crops and feed their families and live, but find themselves converted into fodder for rebel groups. There's a realism at play here, and director S.J. Finley brings his documentary experience in, and it greatly benefits the movie. There's a lot to unpack in Boy From Nowhere, and it's impressive just how much Gary's story is told without it seeming rushed. Instead, it smoothly glides from one part to another, without lingering for too long in any one place. But it's in the final few minutes that the movie's message is spelled loud and clear, that there are other ways to fight for your country and to protect the ones you love. In his mother's tribe, the people don't want to participate in the bloodshed. Instead, they're happy to provide crops to those who need them. In the end, Boy From Nowhere is optimistic. Gary's good nature is the focus, even in the face of violent brainwashing. There's a reason that he's able to befriend as many people as he does, and if he represents the future of the Philippines, Finlay posits that, while brutal struggles may be necessary to protect what one loves, the future is with those who are willing to grow with their country. The Philippines, it is reported, has one of the highest birth rates in all of Asia. Almost 5,000 babies are born daily, more than double than the United Kingdom, to which it's roughly the same size. Filmed over the course of a few weeks at the Dr. Jose Fabela Memorial Hospital, Ramona S. Diaz's documentary Motherland provides an unobtrusive insight into the day-to-day goings-on of the world's busiest maternity ward. Motherland shows us a society that is embarrassed to properly discuss family planning, where old-school opinions on birth control and ligations are common, and where the tirelessly working hospital staff are constantly attempting to convince their patients of the benefits of such precautions. Some of these families are 6 to 7 children strong already, and with parents who are barely in their 20s. And if the thought of raising half a dozen children isn't already worrying, Fabela serves some of Manila's poorest families, who in reality would struggle to raise even a single kid. Themes like these are some of the more evocative and emotionally resonant of the entire documentary, as we see relatively new mother Leah wrestle with the idea of having to bring up twins as well as her firstborn, all the while looking at the hospital bill. Leah's boyfriend, an unemployed but seemingly very nice guy, barely scrapes together £20 as a down payment for their bill, after having borrowed money from his sister. Likewise, many of the other mothers almost never see their husbands during their stay at Fabela, simply because many of them can't afford the 20-odd pesos, with a conversion of about 1 peso to a penny, to travel in. Motherland brings these sentiments into the foreground as it goes on, and we start to get an understanding of who everyone is and what their situations are. There's a chaos to the film that accurately represents the conditions within the world's busiest maternity ward. Diaz imbues the film with plenty of warmth and humanity by showcasing the friendly interactions between the new mothers and how they support one another during these times. Motherland is a solid and intimate look at some very particular and momentous moments in the lives of people whose day-to-day experiences likely differ wildly to your own. Adolescence can be rough, full of awkward moments, uncomfortable conversations, and probably even more confused Googling. For Adam, it's even worse. Adam was raised as a boy, but was born with both male and female genitals, something that hasn't seemed to cause him much distress until he gets his first period. His parents recommend surgery, but Adam isn't convinced, not wanting to choose one gender right away. With support, Adam finally begins to embrace both sides of himself though. This is the premise for the movie Metamorphosis. Straight away, it's worth noting lead actor Golda Zeron, who absolutely carries this entire film on his scrawny shoulders. His performance is honest in a way that I wasn't expecting, and he's able to speak a character's truth, even when he's not experienced this himself. This means that the decisions he makes are grounded in a pre-established personality, and that makes him very easy to connect with as a person. Too often, characters like Adam are treated a bit more sensationalist, even in the most sensitive of portrayals, with their personalities pushed to the back. Adam's struggles will for sure resonate with those who have experienced similar things, and there's also something universal about all of it. This is one of the film's many great aspects, from its cast to its gorgeous cinematography, which bathes each scene in warm natural colours and the occasional strong purple and yellow to represent the intersex flag. As a coming-of-age film, Metamorphosis has just enough 90s-style cheese to keep a light enough tone, while never underselling its central message. It might not speak as loudly to some as any drama of its ilk will, but for many, Metamorphosis is likely to be a transformative experience. And that's the video. What modern Filipino films do you think have touched upon issues the most? And are there ones I've missed and should check out? Leave them down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.